Good evening. We're here to celebrate the accomplishments of one of God's greatest warriors, Pastor Herman L. Watson and his lovely wife, Sandra Watson. Pastor Watson has accomplished much over the years, and so tonight we really want to celebrate him. Instead of me talking about it, why don't we just show you? Let's take a look.
The people of God must walk by faith. Faith is seeing what you don't see. I mentioned Manly Beasley. Manly Beasley says faith is seeing a thing that is not so in order that it might be so. And so we must operate by faith. And what a pastor, preacher needs in this day and age especially is people of faith who would walk not by sight, but they would walk by faith. Forsaking all, I trust him, so we have to trust the Lord. And so a congregation of believers then have to stand firm on the Word of God, even though they don't tie in or don't match with the culture or the things that are happening. The church is always different. You ought to be able to come to the church and find something that is different than you can find in the barbershop or in the grocery store. The church has to speak a different language. Even as it relates to Sinai Village 1 and 2, our responsibility as a church is to make sure that this community is alive. A live church creates a live community. The church is vital. If the church is vocal and visible in the community, then the church can impact those who are in the community. That's why we have the Sinai Life Center. That's why we have the Development Corporation. The Life Center is a social service arm of the church, so we meet the needs of people. The Development Corporation is designed to develop public housing or affordable housing for people in the community, and the church sits in the middle as a nucleus.
The pastor is doing a lot of wonderful things for this development and for this area. I know at one of our tenant meetings, he was telling us, hey, would it be nice to have your own grocery store? You know, would it be nice to have a park for your kids, your own youth center for your kids in your own neighborhood?
What I would like to say to Pastor Watson is, thank you. I am so thankful. I mean, words can't even explain how thankful I am.
I would say thank you. Now I would tell him keep doing what he's doing. You know, let God continue to use him and prosper him to help build up our city.
He has done a magnificent job for me. I mean, this is a big change for me and my son, so I'm so thankful.
Reverend Watson came to Mount Sinai, I guess it's been over 40 years. He started as the youth pastor. Our late Reverend Oriel White asked him to come and preach on fourth Sundays, which used to be the youth Sunday, to be in charge of Sunday morning service.
When Reverend Watson came, I was in the angel choir. Pastor was very excitable, had a lot of energy, very hands-on with the youth in the church. I just loved him.
I was about maybe 19. I graduated from high school, and at that time it wasn't a lot for us to do. It was that age gap where you didn't really know how you fit in. So Pastor Watson came with a program, and starting as the youth pastor, singing in the choir, you became more familiar with him.
Those 7 years he was youth pastor, man, he was engaging. The youth loved him. He actually, he preached the word to a level where we could understand it. And also he was just a good friend of everyone. So we looked up to Reverend Watson as a big brother to everyone that was in the youth department.
He brought a program for us. He showed us how we fit in at the ages we were.
It was a happy time for us when the church elders and came together to make him pastor of Mount Sinai. And that was a joyous time. I mean, we all came back. At the time I was in college. I came back home for that celebration, and people just were delighted. It was, the church was packed for him, and it was just a great time. It was a loving time, and Mount Sinai really appreciated that this young man was now the pastor of Mount Sinai.
Our church was overrunning when we moved into this building. We had people come from Scott Air Force Base to come to our service. We had families You know, it just wasn't the kids. If he found out if you can accommodate the children bring the parents bring the grandparents. You bring families in. If they hear about the service and everything, they start bringing, the cousins want to know, and the uncles want to know, and the aunts want to know. And then all of a sudden, you got this whole family, and you're teaching the whole family what God expects. And then you're giving them a purpose.
The thing that stands out the most is the napkin that he wrote about the vision of Sinai Village and to see it in fruition, stage 1, 2, and now we're heading into Sinai Village 3. I think that's probably the most impactful thing.
There was a funny story after Reverend had, I believe it was Deborah Granger and Martin Gully. Reverend wanted us to walk the neighborhood and show us all the different abandoned property in the neighborhood, and asked if, the church would start buying property, and that he had a vision that there would be homes on this property. So we walked around the neighborhood, and I'm still like, man, there's no way this is going to happen. And we walked around the neighborhood, and Reverend was showing there's going to be a new house here. God is showing me that vision, and the church has to take care of ownership of the neighborhood, and the church is the anchor of any successful neighborhood. And so we start buying into, well, if he believes it, we trust God, and so we believe it. But I believe it was later that week or later sometime that month, him and Sam were had dropped Jay back off at Greenville, and they said they saw some lights in the sky, and it was a UFO. So Reverend comes back to Mount Sinai and says, I saw a UFO. And we're like, this is the dude that told us it's gonna be houses. Yeah, okay. So, needless to say, we still have a running joke about the UFO that him and Sam saw. Yeah.
Coming to work and to church now and seeing the vacant lots being filled with homes and people's lives being changed by the homes that they're living in, not substandard homes anymore, but they have a decent place to live. I think the community really likes Pastor Watson. They really look up to him. They admire him, and I do too.
Over the years, as Reverend Watson grew and the church grew, he had insight. He had a vision. Now, I'll give it to you that some of those visions, we looked at him and like, man, you've got to be crazy. There's no way that this is going to happen. But Reverend was really good at convincing us and praying and telling us to keep faith that God was in this plan. After Reverend Watson had wrote the vision down, and it was funny because he wrote it on a napkin one day, and he shared that with me, that all the things that he saw in this community. And I was like, man, there's no way senior building, homes, after school programs, summer camp, job training programs. I really was like, where is the money coming from? How are we going to do that? And he kept saying, just trust God, just trust God.
Sinai Family Life Center began in January of 2002 with an after-school program. We then moved to a summer camp in June of 2003. We will be celebrating our 20-year anniversary for our summer camp this year. Participants have had such a wonderful experience down through the years. In fact, many of our participants in camp returned to become counselors. My daughter, Carmen Goodson, in particular, started as a volunteer when she was 13, and she went all the way through until she graduated with her bachelor's in psychology from Lincoln University at the age of 24, working for Sinai Family Life Center.
From that led to a senior program on Wednesdays where seniors were coming in and having lunch and playing bingo, just a holistic approach to everything. And as that developed, someone in the neighborhood said they wanted to see affordable housing. So we started the Mount Sinai Development Corporation, and that took off, and man, what a blessing. To date, we've had Sinai Village 1 was 30 single family homes. Sinai Village 2 was another 30 single family homes, and And now we're in closing for Sinai Village 3, which is 38 affordable apartments and garden style homes. So, and a new community center. So Reverend's vision that's on that napkin, and a lot of people won't believe it, that was written well over 30 years ago on a napkin that has actually came to truth today. So we just applaud what this man of God has done, and he's followed the vision that God has set for this church, and he's also sold that vision to the congregants here to where we trust him. And it's been we've been truly blessed to have Pastor Watson here at Mount Sinai.
Pastor Watson and Sister Sandra Watson, I appreciate you for everything that you've done for Mount Sinai. I appreciate you for everything that you've done in my life. I love you both, and I would send you off with the best wishes for the best future ever.
Pastor Watson, I just want to say, man, it's been a great 37 years, or even going back before that as my youth minister, then 37 years as my pastor. I want to wish you the best. You and San have been God sent, and you are friends of me and my family, and we love you, we respect you, and we just want you to just have the best of life right now. I wish you well. We're going to keep this thing going. I know you're not going anywhere, but appreciate you, man. And I love you. Would do anything in the world for you and Sam and your family. So best wishes, Pastor Watson, on your retirement. Best wishes on your anniversary. And may God keep you and may God bless you. Love you, brother.
And Reverend Watson grew me up. He brought me far. He showed me purpose. He helped me to understand that it was a personal relationship. It wasn't just him, it was my responsibility that God had already laid out in his Bible in terms of what my duties were to him, were to God, and were to ourselves, were to our fellow man. And he followed that. He followed that philosophy, and he just grew me up spiritually. And I became a prayer warrior. I became involved with a lot of things. I'm not officially, but he made me aware that everybody has a purpose and a reason.
Wow, what amazing work you've done, Pastor Watson. You and Sister Sand have led this church and this community. We love you and appreciate you. As often said, may the work that I've done speak for me. You epitomize that, my man. God bless you. God keep you. We here at Mount Sinai love you. That is the occasion.